This is Sonia Wagner representing PCA families in one of our recordings that capture lived experience and best practice evidence-based learning that assists kinship, permanent and adoptive parents and carers in supporting young people. PCA Families has a zero tolerance of child abuse and follows child safe standards. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay respect to elders past and present and express our intention to move together to a place of justice and partnership. Today, we are speaking about foster care, kinship care, identity, being gay, abuse, and more with Shane Batista. From the age of 2, Shane didn't have the normal upbringing. His mother left and he lived in kinship care with his Nan and Pop until his Nan dies when he is 6 years old. He then lives a haphazard life with many moves, including a breakdown in his permanent foster care family. He is subjected to sexual abuse and experiences unimaginable losses as people come and go in his life. He attempts suicide once and gets support the next time he feels suicidal. He struggles to fit in and feels broken and dead inside, yet outside he appeared happy, confident, and was able to achieve success in the creative arts. He joins Johnny Young Talent team and stars alongside Colette Mann and works on Neighbours and other TV series. Eventually, he finds his voice, comes out as gay in his 20s, and finds success in education supported by his foster family. So, what can we learn from Shane, and how can we offer safety, connection, and peel back the layers to understand the child within? This story obviously discusses care, sexual abuse, grief, mental health, suicide, addiction, and more. So, it's best suited to adult audiences. So, welcome, Shane, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. That was a bit of a long intro.
Long.
That's good.
You've got a very long story, and there's so
Yeah.
many things that are relevant to all our families. So thank you for joining us. Do you want to start off by telling us who you are and what your life is like today before we delve into some of that history?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 44. Yeah, and I work as a mental health nurse and alcohol and recovery. But my main passion at the moment is my candle business. So I've gone to do that full time while I do nursing casually. And slowly building up, my candle business via e-commerce and through business to business as well. But yeah, so
Great.
that's now in a nutshell.
Great. Excellent. So you have experienced and done a lot in your life. So could you tell us a little bit about what you experienced in your mum and dad's care? What was your experience of childhood trauma before being cared for by extended family?
So it's funny. I just recently learned from one of my sisters, Julie, who was adopted out, and I met her when I was 18. That she has her adoptive file actually described mum when she was young. So this is before I was born.
Yes.
How damaged she was mentally, and because she had epilepsy, pretty severe epilepsy, and I think there was a bit of BPD in there, and then the allegations of I guess rape or abuse from her older brother. So it's a bit of a family history there that could blow up if I like stirred the pot.
Yeah.
Touch that. So that's why I just left that out of my book because it's quite dangerous when you but my mum, as far as I know, have a bad temper and she would go from man to man, I guess, for some type of validation. She met my father. I don't know how, but he was Filipino. My mum's English, and somehow they got together. I don't know how they met, but the story goes that he was on a Filipino Navy ship and he jumped ship and wanted to stay in Australia. So I guess they got married and then had me. So, but it was pretty, what I can remember, a pretty toxic relationship, because all I can remember at around 2 or 3
Mhm.
is Dad coming home, and then somehow there was a fight, and Mum's throwing dishes at him, and he's ducking and
Wow.
the, all this stuff. So I would just hide under my bed because it was quite scary.
Yes.
So yeah, and I've witnessed my mum had a epileptic fit on the couch, and other places, you know,
Mm.
taking me to the toilet, having a fit, and then falling against the door, and then we're locked in there for about an hour until she came to.
Mm.
So yeah, so
Mm.
um, yeah, that was I guess pretty heavy, and but they divorced and separated, and then I guess the moment I moved to her mum, my English grandparents,
Mhm.
um, and my older sister Christine was living there as well.
Mhm.
She was the first child. Mum had her when she was 15.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so that it was just a bit, of a messy
Yeah.
upbringing.
Yeah.
And then my mum kind of was in and out of my life from then, so till that part. So,
Mm. Wow,
so
pretty
yeah,
frightening things. Just even epilepsy to watch that play out would be frightening.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Wow. Yeah.
yeah. So then my mum, she tried to take care of me, and it's in the book that um, one of her boyfriends were living in um, a caravan park, and I was crying because I had a Humphrey Bee Bear light, and it wasn't turned on, and I wanted it on, but I was having a bit of a tantrum about it. So I guess that angered this man, and he came and tried to suff- shut me up and suffocate me with pillows. Um, and I just remember my mum pulling him off, and then he, hit her or whatever, and then we took off, and my uncle, my mum's twin brother, came and got us. So, and he has a bit of a protective temper, so I could imagine he would
Mm.
wanted to flog this guy.
Yes.
but yeah, so to
Mm.
this day, I can't have anything on my face.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
things like that, that time. So,
Mm.
so yeah, it's quite funny how still things
Yeah.
um,
Are you
happen. So,
claustrophobic or anything as well, or
yeah.
not? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And does that come back in nightmares or any other form?
Not, not anymore.
Mhm.
Um, I remember when I was living with my uncle and my auntie at the time. I was having these nightmares and stuff. So so
Mhm.
yeah, so but
Mm.
that's just stopped now. So like I
Mhm.
don't have anything like that anymore.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, so that was the my starting life, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Tough
like,
beginning.
yeah.
Yeah. So you ended up living with your Nan and Pop, and they offered you
Mm,
safety and connection and love and everything a child
yeah.
needs from the sounds of it. And they also had a lot of ambitions for you around skating and creative pursuits. So can you tell us a little bit about
Yeah.
that and what helped you to thrive in that environment?
Um, man, with my mum and my uncle Stephen, they were twins.
Mhm.
She would put them through dancing lessons, so they did tap and ballet and everything like that.
Mhm.
And so I guess that carried on with my older sister Christine. Went into ice figure skating first.
Mhm.
She's 10 years older, I think. And so as a teenager, she was doing skating pretty much full time.
Mhm.
Going to school in the morning late because of the early sessions. So when I became of age about 5, Nan put me in skating as well.
Mhm.
So so I remember there was an Easter show and they dressed me up as the Easter bunny to throw eggs out to the audience. Yeah, so often she would put bills off or ask Uncle Steve to help pay for some of the house bills, so she could afford to give us these lessons and stuff. So she really put us first than herself.
Wow. Great. And do you feel like you thrived in that environment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the happiest time, I guess, in my life. The Sunday roasts, she would always have a Sunday roast, and then whoever the family wanted to come on that Sunday morning, they would come and enjoy family time. And remember her with her baking and cupcakes and things like that on Sunday. So she really took care of us, and I guess that was the most stable time, only for a few years. And then I was 5 when she died, and I was by her bedside, and I witnessed her, gasping for breath and all that, because she had liver cancer, and then it would have spread to her lungs and stuff. So, yes, I still, unfortunately, still have that last memory of my nan.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So I try to just remember the good things and not that time.
Replace that memory. Yeah.
And
And
then
your pop found it hard to care for you and to be available to you after she died. Is that right? So
he because back in those days the wives do everything for the men, so he didn't know how to do anything because they did it all. So, and he would forget, I guess, feed me. There's oftentimes when I'd go to school, I was in grade prep or grade one, and I would go to school with trackies and no underpants on. So he would forget, because Nan did all that stuff, looking up, making sure I was dressed properly, and so I was kind of just living in my own devices, I guess, with the help of my sister. But she at the time had moved out and was across the road at her boyfriend's place. And then she got pregnant at 17. So so there was just he didn't know how to care for a young child, and I guess getting older, I think he was getting a bit I wouldn't say loopy, but just old.
Yeah. Do you look back and think something different should have been done at that time, or what would you recommend for other families going through those kind of things? So
I think DHS was involved in some small way towards the end of that, because my auntie took me on, and I lived with them and my cousins for a year. But my I don't think there was any support given to my pop, so maybe that could have helped, helped him. But I guess he was just getting too old to care for a young person, because I was running in the streets by myself at 5, hanging out with teenagers and living way beyond my years.
Yeah.
And then when my sexual assaults were happening after my nan died, there was a boy next door, a teenager, I guess, that would play with me, and his older sister would babysit me sometimes. But if I went over to their house or he'd come over to mine, he'd make me do things to him and stuff. And then there was my sister's boyfriend at the time, his younger brother was doing the same thing. So
I mean, is that something you're aware of at the time, that that it's happening to
Not
you and you
really.
should speak up, or is it just how does that? Yeah.
No, because um, I guess as a child you don't know that's wrong, and yeah, you like the attention, like
Mm.
because um, I guess I was lonely, so at
Mm.
a young age I didn't have many friends, and my older friends, like friends I used to hang out with, were older.
Mm.
Um, so I guess you don't think at that age,
Mm.
you just think it's a game or something.
Mm.
Yeah, but as you get older, that kind of affects your behaviour and the way you do things in adult life. So
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you ended up having more contact with your dad, Roy, before the social workers were looking for a foster
um,
family for you. Is
oh,
that right?
yeah, his name's Ray. His name's Ray. Well, funny story. My grandfather hated my dad, and
Right.
so I guess that so did my uncle. So I guess that rubbed off onto me because I was told a story that I climbed the house with a box of rotten tomatoes,
Mm-hmm.
and as my dad came into the driveway,
Mm-hmm.
I I would flick them at
Pelting him.
him and call him every name under the sun. So yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, so as a kid, I idolized my grandparents and stuff. So my pop, was like my best friend, and
Mm.
so I guess his opinion of my dad rubbed off on me as a young impressionable boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was quite a funny story, but
Yeah.
very naughty. But
Can you differentiate that now between your real feelings and sort of how you were impacted by other people? And do they still mesh or are they different?
uh, my dad and I never got along,
Mm-hmm.
so never understood each other. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up Australian culture, and
Mm.
he was Filipino culture. So um, he always would say, "Oh, you're too Aussie, you."
Okay.
And, and he was, I guess, he didn't know how to be a father. I guess I was trying to be my mate, but
Mm-hmm.
um, he was just, yeah, never around, so we never got that father son bond.
Mm-hmm.
So not much of a relationship at all. Even when I was in foster care and he would have access, he wouldn't spend one-on-one time with me. He would be taking me to his friend's place for parties and
Mm.
um, or taking his lady friends wherever they were shopping and things like that. It was never one-on-one father and son time.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah.
So never the relationship. And then after a while, I just said I don't want to go there anymore.
Mm.
So,
And you were
so
living
yeah.
with Joan and Brian at that
Mm,
time, weren't you, around 7 years of age? So
yeah.
could you talk to them about it? And did they offer any advice? Like, it's a hard one,
Um,
isn't it? Because it's a biological family member that you're
yeah.
encouraged to spend time with. But yeah,
Yeah.
clearly he didn't have the skills to know how to care for a child at the same time. So,
Yeah. They were quite supportive. I mean, they would always encourage me, give him a chance or whatever. But there was a time where I caught the bus. I think it was like 8 or 9.
mhm,
There was some reason why he couldn't drive me home, so I caught the bus by myself from Dandenong, and then got off. Because where we lived on Hallam Road,
mhm.
there was a big like paddocks that was like the old radio station, and
Yes.
so there was a bus stop on the freeway
Oh,
on the other
wow.
side of that paddock. So it was night time. I got off and then walked across that
Wow.
large paddocks to back home. And then when I opened the door, Joan was in shock, because she was like, "Oh, how'd you get home? Where's your dad?" And I said, "Oh, I caught the bus. He couldn't take me home." Well, she was fuming at that, because
Of course. Yeah.
a young kid had to lock myself. But from my childhood, from 5,
Yes.
um, I guess I was the most streetwise kid. So I could have even caught the bus at 5 places.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, but they always tried to encourage it, but they also supported my decision when I just said, "I've had enough. I
Mm.
don't want to see it anymore." So
Yeah.
I think that was later on, like early teens, maybe.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And so you live with Joan and Brian, your foster family. So, and I know you talk about in your book how they enrolled you in sports, but that sort of made you feel a little bit further disconnected at times, because your interests were in dance and the creative arts, as opposed to
Um,
being a perfect fit with the foster family's interests. So can you talk
yeah. So it
about that?
wasn't. It was more scouts. I guess Jane was trying to make me find friendships, because I had trouble with that at school. Um, Being bullied a lot and stuff. So she enrolled me in scouts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at times it was fun,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really fit in with the boys, like, because I was obviously gay, so I didn't fit in with the boy stuff. So yeah, so I mean, they did support me in the creative arts, in a way, driving me to um, rehearsals at school and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
and coming to the shows. Um, but yeah, I guess, they've never had an experience of a young child that liked, I guess in those days, girly things.
Yes.
So yeah, so I guess it was, you know, difficult at
Yeah.
the time.
So what's that
Um,
like to, I mean, you're obviously feeling disconnected. Is that something you feel daily? What does that feel like?
uh,
Yeah.
just with just because of my mental health issues, depression, anxiety. I was, social worker said I had attachment disorder, and that probably still carries in my life,
Mm-hmm.
attaching to people. I have a good group of small friends, but I have a lot of acquaintances as well. So
Yeah. Yes.
um, yeah, so at times, I do feel a disconnect to the world, and also just the emptiness. Like, I
Mm.
don't naturally feel sad, depressed. It's just more, I guess sometimes I feel dead inside. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So the weekend just gone, I went away with my best friend Danny, who I live with, and a couple of our girlfriends. And went to Phillip Island, and that was such a recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I came back, recharged and feeling energized and motivated to get back into the work in the business and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling demotivated and like,
Mm-hmm.
like there was nothing to get inside. So
Mm.
I'm going for trying to find a new psychiatrist to try and just get a proper diagnosis, because I haven't had a formal diagnosis just from the GPs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a bit of ADD I have as well, because it runs
Mm-hmm.
in the family. My older sister and her son.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just would just like a proper diagnosis, which would
Mm.
have been helpful as a child to have had that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Back in, well, now I'm going to say old, but back in my day,
Mm.
um, there was no help. There was mental health wasn't spoken about.
Mm.
Back then.
Did you get
So
any psychological support at all, or nothing?
nothing,
Okay, yeah.
no.
And was it something that Joan and Brian wanted for you at all, or it just wasn't
Uh,
discussed?
I guess they maybe they didn't know because they're not educated on mental health. And the social workers I had seemed to be younger, straight out of
Mm.
college, no
Mhm.
experience.
Mhm.
So yeah, so
Mm. Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? So, yeah,
yeah,
because on one hand, you're not being offered help to encourage you to work through your feelings, and on the other hand, you've got all that shame and everything
mm,
else that's probably burying it down a little bit further at the same time. So, yeah.
yeah. My like Jane would always try to talk to me and try to talk about my feelings and stuff, but because I was always afraid of um, upsetting someone, or because I'm a people pleaser,
Yes.
and so I would want to share my feelings and stuff, but the anxiety took over, and I got so
Mhm.
anxious that I couldn't, and that would be frustrating for Jane, I guess, as a foster mum,
Mm.
trying to help me, but I just couldn't, give what she wanted because at the time I was diagnosed with anxiety and
Mm.
um, you so yeah, I guess if my social workers, because I had a few,
Yes.
um, were trained more in mental health
Mhm.
and adolescent mental health, child mental health,
Mm.
it could have gone a long way back then for me to get
Yeah.
help and to get a
So
proper
if someone had
diagnosis.
said to you, we understand you're going to have these feelings and tried to unpack
Yeah,
it with you, yeah, possibly you would have spoken out a bit more. So,
yeah,
and hopefully that's what we're offering today is a bit more of that conversation. So, but I can certainly recognise exactly what you're saying as a foster carer. So
yeah.
I would have said the same
Um,
thing at times that I wanted someone to unpack or be more emotional or more available, but they were not able to do it at that time. So yeah, it's hard.
yeah. As a adolescent, if you get asked, oh, I think you should see someone, I would have gone, no, I don't want to see anyone. I'm fine, like with your
Yes.
thing. But I think you need to be forced to see someone. Like,
Yes.
yeah, so um, even if it was just, you know, go and see the psychiatrist or psychologist, just give it a go.
Mhm.
Um, because it could help you.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I think these days kids are lucky that are in care that there's a lot of support and resources
Mm.
um, for their help.
Mhm.
Back in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't
Yeah,
any.
absolutely. And even just the book that you've written about your life is helpful for others to see that it's
Mm.
a normal experience to have those type of feelings. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and that's my purpose of writing the book in the first place. One, it was you know good for me to
mhm.
to express everything. It was quite healing.
Mhm.
But I wanted to help other people, in care, out of care, adolescents that are going through their confusion of their sexual orientation or their sexual identity
Mhm.
as well, and to, I guess, see that there's other people out there that are experiencing similar or same things that they are, and that they're
Mm.
not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think you also talk in your book about that you were bullied in your teenage years for being gay, and you were then ostracized from your friend group for it, which is like a
Mm.
double torture type of thing. So you ended up hanging out with a lot of the misfits, and I think it's really interesting to hear that because that can be what happens, right? So that makes you feel better because you've got friends, even though they might be misfits or doing dangerous things. So that also meant you probably had a fairly poor attitude, I imagine, at home or at school. So
yeah.
do you want to talk a little bit about that? So
year 9, I guess, in any teenager's life, year 9 is the hardest year for teenagers because they're got out of puberty and they're still figuring out life, a little bit immature, and easily led by other people, other kids. You know, they're either the bully or the victim. You know, so it's a real messy year. So the first half of year 9, I was failing everything except for drama, of course. But yeah, I was flunking out, and I had the worst attitude. I guess that time I'm like 14, going on 15. Everything that I've pushed down is starting to bubble to the surface because all the emotions are starting to bubble to the surface because of not getting the help that I needed as a kid. And then you're getting bullied and bullied for being a foster kid and bullied because you're not good at sport and bullied because, you know, people are calling you a poof. And so, you know, I'd hang out with the smokers and the older year level because that's what I was used to. Never could get along with my peers, so I was older kids that I would hang out with. So yeah, so I was getting detentions and everything. So yeah, so that wasn't the best.
It sounds like you're doing everything you could to sort of keep everything hidden, I guess. So at the same time,
and the funny thing was, I went to Hampton Park Primary, primary, and then Hampton Park Secondary. So in my years when I was there, 70s, 80s, it was quite a affluent suburb, you know, and there was, you know, it was like a lot of white people living there, you know, the typical families, middle class, upper class. Not like that anymore, but yeah, that school sucked because I was just getting bullied and stuff like that there. And it wasn't until I blew up my life with my foster family in year 10, so 10, and moved myself to my cousin Tanya's high school in Dufton, so Dufton Secondary, the lower class school, and they've hit the reputation of Dufton Tech being the roughest school. Is the time when that was year second half of year 10, 11, and 12 were the best schooling years of my life. In VCE, well, everyone was friends and we go to each other's parties and stuff like that. So to me, I guess it just goes to show, you know, different classes. I guess middle upper class kids can be awful, entitled, I guess. My experience. Anything different from that, you know, would be, you know, frowned upon or a chance for them to be bullies and stuff like that. So it was funny that when I went to like the lower class schools, when I made the most friends and I was never bullied. And
so you felt less judged in that environment, I guess. So you felt more safe to be yourself, but you were still hiding things still at that time.
I wasn't coming out until I went out to a couple of friends in year 12 They didn't. Yeah, they were really supportive.
Mm-hmm.
But with my foster family and everyone else, I didn't come out till I was like 23. So
Mm,
yeah.
yeah.
So
So
but go.
you were prepared to lose your foster family at that time, right? To keep everything hidden and not affect them, which is probably you trying to take care of them more than anything. I don't know. How do you
Yeah,
see that? So,
yeah. Looking back at that time, I guess I was afraid of rejection from the family.
mm-hmm.
Um, so when I tried to kill myself, that didn't work. I
Thank goodness.
yeah. um,
Wow.
I guess I was in the defensive and sort of rejected them before they could reject me type of
Mm,
mentality, which is just stupid because they they kind of knew in the background that I could be gay, but no one
mm,
spoke up about it, and
mm.
um,
Do you
and
wish they
so
did? Do you wish they'd had that forced
yeah,
conversation? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, my like Joan and Brian, they didn't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's you know, an age thing, a culture thing, they grew up with them growing up. There wasn't much of that around,
Mm,
that they experienced. So I guess they were equipped to deal with that complexity of a kid trying to, fighting against their sexual orientation and confused and
mm.
self-loathing um,
Because you're
and
using
yeah,
bulimia sort of as self-punishment as
mm,
well, right? So, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. So this day and age, I would have been sent to hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And you
Do
ended
all
up
that.
exploring with ecstasy and a whole lot of other
In my
drugs as well. So,
yeah,
yeah.
when I was 23 when I came out, funny enough, the first guy that I was with was a drug dealer. So,
Oh, geez.
um, then I was like obsessed with, I guess, wog boys, as you call it, Italians and Greeks and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So, yeah, so yeah, he was Italian and yeah, drug dealer. So that was when I first had my first pill of
Mm-hmm.
ecstasy,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and then it just started from there. Um, you know, you take one pill of the night, then you're taking two, then
Mm-hmm.
uh, you're trying speed, cocaine, ketamine.
Mm.
What else I tried? GHB. Um, yeah, so and because I have an addictive personality,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would just chase that high
Mm.
or not. So then it'll be like um, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, I'm
Mm-hmm.
out partying, and then Monday I'm supposed to try and work.
Yeah.
so um, yeah, so it's that was very
Yeah.
dangerous situation
And I
because I
think you
was always
talked, you talk about, you're sort of trying to get away from that shame and stigma and grief of being that unwanted child or not fitting in culturally or, with yourself. So
yeah,
you're looking for love and being promiscuous, which led to the
mm,
drug taking, I guess. So,
yeah.
so how do you survive that? How do you get clean from that? What's the turning point for that? So,
um, yeah, so in the whole from 23 to about 30, I think 35, I was a drug user
mhm,
and I was just running.
mhm,
So just running for myself and all the trauma, all the feelings. Um, and so drugs did that for me.
mm,
Um, when when you're out and you're taking drugs with you. friends and stuff, and then you meet more friends out because everyone's on the love drug.
Yes.
So, so everyone, so it's a really good time. And yeah, so I'd be like, picking up a guy at the club, and then, you know, going off to the toilets and, making out, doing whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, and then after a while, I started to get a name for myself,
Mm-hmm.
easy and things like that. So, or slut, or, um, so yeah. So it wasn't
Mm.
until I guess in my 30s I started to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when I was 24, because I was a dancer in my 20s, so when I was 24, I moved up to Sydney for a little while,
Mm-hmm.
to pursue dancing and things like that. So, but it all kind of didn't work out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working for Virgin Records as a casual and then a manager. Um, the old CD shops, which
Yes,
is
I
in
remember
my
them.
yeah. Um, and but that time I wasn't getting paid enough.
Mm-hmm.
So and then when my dancing contracts would finish, then you kind of pour. So my housemate at the time suggested, "Oh, you should try escorting because you're giving it away for free. You might as well make some money." So so I did, and I went to one of the male escort agencies or whatever you call them,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, for 6 months did that. But what I realized is you don't get to select your customers. So there
Yes.
were people that you weren't really attracted to, older men, married men. There was a lot of straight men. So what was funny was hardly ever gay men. A small percentage of gay men would come to those places. It was all closeted men.
Ah.
Um, and so one of the guys was smoking ice at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and then offered it to me. And so then here we go again. I'm addicted to ice now. So
Mm.
um, for 6 months, I was using it pretty heavily throughout the day,
Mm-hmm.
um, to get through the escorting shifts. And yeah, so it really takes a hold of you, that drug,
Yeah.
because it just makes you feel invincible. And
Yeah.
and I guess to be a bit crude, the older, uglier men, it didn't matter because I was high.
Drugged up.
So
Yeah.
I drugged out so I could, cope with that. So and it was all just about making money.
Mm.
So, on a weekend I could make like 3 grand.
Mm.
So
Wow.
so but that was, you know, the self-loathing part of me is, not respecting myself, not loving myself to just
Mm.
be able to just do that. So
Mm. Wow. Tough gig. So I guess as parents and carers, we've got an opportunity to learn from you because despite having people around you, you didn't ask for help. I don't know how anyone can ask for help in that situation. So I don't mean that in a negative context, I guess. So,
no.
but I guess what do we do that's different? So when someone's suicidal or depressed or, feeling all these feelings, because so many kids are from a different culture and don't know what their identity is or don't feel like they belong. What do we need to do you think, that could be different?
Yeah, I guess provide a safe space for them not to feel judged or to be scared of rejection. Um, there's, especially this day and age now, where there's a lot of kids identifying as, uh, non-binary,
Mm-hmm.
and using the pronouns correctly. So if they say, I look at myself as non-binary, and I'd like to be called they, them, or she, they, or he, they, or
Yeah.
whatever the pronouns are. Try and embrace that as a carer. Even if you don't understand it, educate yourself.
Yes.
Find
Goes to their
support.
identity. Yeah.
Find support. There's a lot of support for parents and carers of children that have different sexual identities, and try to just understand where it's coming from, and don't call it a phase like I got.
Oh yes.
So, I guess being in that, opening that space and providing a safe space that they can be themselves, and they can express whatever they need to express without judgment. Fear of judgment is like the big, I guess, catalyst to I guess a teenager's behavior. Whether they shut down or they open up. So I guess having that safe space where they can express whatever they need to express.
Yeah, even if you don't understand it, that's a good point. So yeah, really good point. So I know you've done so much study. You really have made a difference in other people's lives now as a nurse and as a alcohol and drug counsellor. And you said in your book that you wanted to change the outcome in your life and not be another foster care statistic with homelessness and crime and drug and alcohol abuse, etc. So what has given you that inner drive? What have you tapped into that we can get others to tap into as well? So
I guess one thing Joan would always drum into me as a kid and as a teenager, that you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, as long as you have the drive to. So I guess her message to me was, don't let anything stop you from, achieving things. So I guess that, having that confidence to allow myself to do that. And I didn't want to be, I guess, like my parents. And I wanted, there was something in me that wants to achieve things, and life is short, so you've only got a short time on this earth, so make the most of it. So that's I do still have struggles with my mental health, but I have a lot of support with friends and family now, so and and the education. Sometimes I wish I didn't do 3 degrees and maybe bought a house, but I just get that innate drive to just want to be better.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to have that, but you've obviously acted on it, so which is commendable. So very hard to do, especially as you get older, and combining that study with work and everything else is challenging. So is there anything else you want to talk about today that we haven't touched on at all?
One thing would be good for social workers coming out of their degrees. I guess it's probably different, but try and gain some more life experience, I guess. Educate yourself in the main issues that kids go through today. So don't just look at things from the textbook, get out there and experience life, I guess, so you can be a better worker.
Have you got ideas on how they can do that? And I say that with 2 psychologists in the making at home. So
I guess volunteer at different support groups, whatever interests you, you know, while you study, go and do some volunteering and see how people live and the traumas they have, and sort of see it face to face. I mean, I guess a lot of these days with their degrees, they have placements and things like that, so which is good. So yeah, so I guess, you know, just always educate yourself and sort of live the life of other people's shoes, you know, to gain that understanding. So yeah, so I guess, you know, that's the advice I would give.
Yeah, it's a good point. So there are so many organisations out there where you can go and spend that time. So yeah. Great. All right. Anything else you wanted to comment on?
No.
No. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll pop up the book as well and the notes so people can access it. So it's a wonderfully authentic, honest insight into a myriad of, I guess, feelings and experiences, and you know, it's invaluable. So thank you for writing the book and sharing that with us today. So
No problem.
yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.